Okay. What will you do for a Klondike bar? Hey, fuckers. What's up, everybody? What's up, y'all? How's everybody doing today? Or this evening? How's everybody doing this evening? Welcome to everybody. Come on in. Have a seat. Have a seat. Greet your neighbor, please. Greet your neighbor. I hope you guys are doing well today. I hope everybody's staying clean and sober. I'm doing good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, we are going to talk about how far would you go? That's right, honey. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly tonight. So, get ready, and let's do this thing. Now, I got a couple questions for y'all. I want y'all to reflect. Okay, I want y'all to reflect. So, let's let everybody get in here. Yeah, I look like a scrub today. I didn't put any makeup on or anything. And my hair's all frizzy and shit because I didn't straighten it. So, don't judge me. Don't judge me. It has been raining off and on here, so it's just been cock-a-nasty, muggy outside. So what we're going to talk about is how far would you go? And we're going to talk about the good side of how far you would go and the bad side of how far you would go. Okay, so first, of course, first we're going to talk about the bad side. How far would you go when you were in your active addiction, you guys? How far would you go to get that next fix? Okay? Hey man, you need to go to detox. You've got to go to detox because coming off Xanax is just so dangerous, okay? And you need to get involved in some recovery support groups. Maybe even an intensive outpatient treatment would help you, and some therapy, okay? All right, you guys, so the topic tonight is how far would you go? So, how far would I go when I was in my active addiction? Well, there's really no holds barred over here, honey. I didn't have any boundaries. Now, when I first started getting high, I thought I had boundaries, you know, because I was like this. Oh, that girl shoots meth? Ugh, disgusting. I would never do that. Only junkies shoot up. Oh, she's selling herself? She's prostituting? Oh, honey, no. I would never do that. Only nasty hoes do that. Oh, they're stealing? I'm not a thief. I'm too good for that. Don't you know that? Don't you know I'm too good for that? I mean, I'm just sitting here like smoking meth out of a crack pipe or out of a meth pipe and taking pills and eating Xanax bars and drinking alcohol. But I'm too good. I'm too good for all that. Okay, well, let me just tell you how long that lasted. You know, that holier than thou, I'm too good attitude doesn't last long, especially when you get desperate. And when you are an active drug addict, there is going to become a time where you are desperate. Unless you're independently wealthy and have access to drugs 24/7, 7 days a week, there's going to be a moment where you can't obtain those substances without doing something strange for a little bit of change. You know what I'm saying? So, it didn't start out with me right away because, like I said, in my active addiction, you guys, hey, Blunts, I could hold a job. I could hold a job. I had many full-time jobs that I worked. When I first started using drugs, I was managing, I was working at JCPenney as a makeup artist, as a cosmetic consultant, is what they would call it. After that, I got a job managing at Shoe Carnival, and then after that, I was managing at Sonic. Then I was working at the revenue office for 7 years. Like, I worked a lot of different jobs. So I at least had money to buy my own drugs, right? But there were some times where I was running low on money, or I needed to save my cash. And so, like I said, desperate times call for desperate measures. Now, I remember the first time I ever did something like kind of fucked up, you know, like I stole some shit. I remember I was in Walmart and I saw these flip-flops, right? They were some cute little flip-flops. I think they're like jelly flip-flops or something, and I just thought they were the cutest things. And I had on a pair of black Nike Shox. I walked into Walmart. I was high as hell off Xanax bars, and I took my Nike Shox off, put them in the box, and walked out with those flip-flops on. They caught me. Thank God they caught me. Okay? They caught me red-handed and stopped me at the door, and they were like, the guy couldn't even understand it. He was like, what are you doing? So he had me take the shoes off and gave me back my Nike Shox. You guys, I was so grateful to him because he didn't arrest me. They just let me go. But that was the first time I ever like shoplifted while I was under the influence and was just doing stupid shit for no reason, right? Now, as my addiction progressed and I started using like heavier substances and I started injecting, that's when shit got real. When I started injecting methamphetamine, you guys, I would get so high that I would do anything that anybody asked me. If there was a guy there that thought I was pretty and wanted to have sex, we were having sex. If there was a girl there and a guy there and they wanted to hook up and have a threesome, we were having a threesome. And you know why I was doing these things? Because I thought, well, if I do this, they're going to give me free drugs and then they'll like me more and we can all hang out, right? And I thought, I was thinking that it wasn't hurting me. I was thinking like, I'm doing it. I'm making the decision. I'm choosing to do this, right? You guys, I was sick in my addiction. And now when I look back on it, I realized that I was unhealthy and that I was seeking for validation in men and women any way I could get it because I was so insecure and so self-conscious and I hated myself. And that is why I used men, women to make myself feel better while I was in active addiction. So I started doing things like that. Like with anybody, really, anybody that I thought was semi-attractive, I would hook up with them. You know what I'm saying? Well, that started out, and what happens is that you build a reputation amongst people who use drugs when you're somebody who will fuck, right? And so now the guys that sell the drugs, they know that Nichole will fuck. And so there would be some days where I would go to buy cocaine at my dealer's house and I would have $100 and he would just tell me that my money wasn't good there and that what he was meaning was, your money's not good here, but you can suck my dick or we can have sex, you know? And I was just like, when that started happening, that's when it's just like your heart, it's like, you know that you're not supposed to be doing that. But then in your mind, because you're on drugs, you're thinking, well, I'm getting the better end of the deal. Like, I'm getting over on them, right? I'm saving my money. And it's like, no, girl, you're breaking yourself down and you are not respecting your body and you're not loving yourself. And I see girls doing this stuff all the time. I see girls on this app who talk about these things like they're cool and like it's fun and funny. And you guys, listen, I don't believe somebody who's using drugs to do sex work and they're using their body while they're high on drugs. I don't believe that that's something that they're choosing that they want to do. I believe that in their heart, they're hurting. You know what I mean? Now, there are people out there that do sex work and they do it and they're clear-minded and they want to do that, right? These were not things that I thought. I woke up one day and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. You know what I mean? I want to be a hoe. That's not the way I wanted to live my life. But I did it because it got me where I wanted to go. It got me what I wanted, you know? Why do people say they still went on Xanax? I've never even thought of doing that. So, Gaston, when you're taking Xanax, at least for people who don't need to take it, it does the opposite effect of what I think it does to people who really have anxiety. People who don't need to take it, they get this cockiness about them and they feel like they can do anything and nobody will catch them and they're invisible. And that's what it did for me. It made me feel invisible, and that's why I would do that. Hey, will you take that blanket upstairs, please? And tell your dad I said to come down here and do the tuna for you because I'm busy right now. Okay?
Can you just get me a drink? That's what I want.
Okay. What do you want to drink?
What do we have?
Nate, you have apple juice, milk, and your drinks. Nate.
Do you have chocolate?
Yes, I do. Okay, your dad can come down here and make you tuna. He can come down here and make you some spaghetti, Nate. I have spaghetti already made. I just need you guys to do it for me because I'm busy right now, okay? Dad's a big boy. He can do it for you. There you go.
Bob, your head's a
There you go.
Mom.
Here.
No wedgie.
Hey, give me my cover because you're getting it dirty, Nate. You're getting it dirty. Go. I love you. I don't know why you... Here, take it with you. Like that. And don't drag it on the ground. I love you. Shingity bop. Ah. My little boy, he likes to drag the blanket on top of his little head. He'll come wrap down in it and just drag it all through the house. And I'm just like, ah, why do you do that? Hey, Kristin, what's up, girl? Oh, yeah, I made some bomb-ass spaghetti, you guys, with meat sauce and everything. So, anyway, and just so you guys know, my son just ate a whole pizza from Jason's Deli. And so he's not hungry. He's just coming down because I'm on a live stream. So, he's already eaten. Okay? All right, so a lot of people like to watch my videos and then try to judge and say, oh, you don't feed your kid. Babe, y'all don't understand. If you don't have kids, you'll never understand. But 9 times out of 10, when you have children and you are on social media, those kids are going to come down and get in your face while you're on social media. They won't bother you any other day, except for when you get online. So, anyway, I would use my body and myself to get what I wanted. But like I said, it wasn't because I enjoyed doing that. And I respect people who enjoy doing sex work, but this was not sex work for me. This was things I was doing to get by because I was desperate. You know, I was desperate and I wanted to get what I wanted to get. And like I said, once those dealers knew that I was a person that would hook up with them, they would use that against me and hold that over my head, basically. And it was such an awful feeling to have when people are, you know, they're looking at you like that. They don't have any respect for you, you know? And I used to lie to myself and say, oh, these are my friends. These guys, they respect me, you know? Like I had one dealer, we called him Z, and he was my dealer for like fucking 10 years, dude, a long ass time. And I thought, I would say that he was my friend. I would say that he looked after me. And I really had such a skewed sense of reality. I believed because he was giving me the drugs that I wanted, and because he didn't just rape me outright, that he was looking out for me. But he was never looking out for me. He was assisting me in killing myself. So anyway, I would do whatever it took to get drugs. You know, I would steal, I would lie, I would cheat, I would pawn things, I would sell things. And it was, like I said, because I got so desperate. Hey, Chrissy, when you get to a point where you're just desperate, it's like, it's a hard feeling to have. And a lot of the times here on social media, I think some of you guys might have never been desperate. Because a lot of people comment, on my content. Oh, so annoying. Sorry. A lot of people comment on my content and they judge, and I'm like, these people must have never been in active addiction, or they have no idea what it's like to struggle. Because when you have been in active addiction for 13 years, you eventually are going to experience the struggle. Like I said, unless you're independently wealthy and have access to drugs 24/7, 7 days a week. You know what I mean? I came from a good family. I came from a family who had, who works hard. Hey, little sister. Who worked hard for their money. My dad retired from the postal service. My mom still works to this day. And, you know, my parents never just handed me money, ever. They never just gave me anything. I worked for everything I had. My dad made the mistake of buying me my first car when I was 16, and I crashed it. And so after that, he said, never again. And I had to work for everything I had. He never gave me anything. And so he taught me to work hard and to hustle my ass off to make money and to always pay my bills and always pay my credit card shit. So that's what I would do. Even though I was strung out, I would do that until I got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. You know, I got so strung out on drugs that I was losing my jobs. I lost my place to live. I lost my car. Like, it took years for all those things to happen, but eventually every one of those things happened. But when I was out there, y'all, snorting pills and just like driving my car around, working at my job, I thought it would never happen to me also. Believe me, I was just like a lot of you are who say, I would never let that happen to me. I knew better. Baby girl, son, it's not that you know better. It's not that you would never let it happen to you. It's just that hasn't happened yet. And if you keep going down that road and you keep getting high, it will. It may take a little bit, but it does. And let me just tell you guys something. I know, because I sit back and watch people. I've been sitting back and watching people for the last 5.5 years here on social media. Okay? And people have been such fucking haters to me, said mean ass shit to me. And I just sit back and I just watch it. And you know what? I'm telling you guys, humble yourself and be kind to others, because it could happen to you anytime. Anytime. Using drugs and alcohol is playing Russian roulette with our lives, especially the dope that they have out there nowadays. If I was shooting dope now, I would be dead. I would be dead. There's no way I would make it through this, what's going on with fentanyl and all this crap that they have out there now. I would be dead. I would not have made it. God knew that I needed to get better before all this stuff happened in the world, because I wouldn't be alive. I would have killed myself. Do you know what I'm saying? And being on medication-assisted treatment, little sister, it has also shown me how people really are, and how people are not genuine, and a lot of people are fake, and all they care about is themselves. There's people that I looked up to that I loved on social media that I had to stop following because they showed their ass. And they showed that they don't really care about people that are on medically assisted treatment, and that they judge people like us who are on Suboxone, methadone. And there are so many people who they act like they are supporting, okay? They act, hey, love for you too. I don't know. I never said there was anything wrong with my thyroid. Why are you asking? I'm so tired. My husband puts me through so much. I can't take any more. Well, sometimes you just got to walk away and let him hit rock bottom. You can do it. I have met people who act like they support all pathways to recovery, and then underneath their breath, they're saying, but she's not really sober. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the funniest thing. But anyways, that's how far I would go when I was in active addiction. Like, there was no line. There was no boundary. I eventually crossed every single boundary. Every single one. Now, if you flip the script and we talk about how far would I go to protect my sobriety, I mean, I feel really confident that I can share with you guys a lot of things that I've shared, okay? I bleed when they said... Hey, little sister, that's good. Hey, JoJo. And here's the thing, you guys. What makes it wrong for people to judge others that are on Suboxone and say those things? Because a lot of people say to me, well, Nicole, the truth hurts sometimes. No, it's not that I'm not sober. That's not the truth. My addiction is being treated, okay? I am on a medication that's helping maintain my life. All right, some people can do it without medication, and some people need medication, and some people will need medication for the rest of their life, and some people can use it for a short time and then get off, right? A lot of people will also say to me, well, Nicole, Suboxone was only made to be used short term. All of these things that they say are things that are not true, okay? When Suboxone was first created, I'm sure that they probably thought, oh, we'll use this to taper people off of dope with, or whatever they invented it for. But then as studies go on and they're able to see people and collect data, that's where they've gotten to a point where they have seen that medication-assisted treatment used over time, long-term, is beneficial, and it's saving people's lives. You know, I hate to say this, and people might get upset with me, but some people, you guys, will never be free of medication, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with being on medication, okay? There's some people who have done so much damage to their brain over time from using drugs and alcohol that they need medication to live. They need medication to thrive. When they're not utilizing medication, when they're trying to cold turkey, when they're trying to live without, they cannot do it. And it's like, why would we judge somebody who needs help? Why would we judge them? Because, and I'll tell you why people judge. Because they think that we are getting over on them. They think that we have somehow taken an easy way out. Okay, that we're not going through withdrawal. Baby, when I got on Suboxone, I had been sober I was already sober. I had been sober for 30 days. Okay, I had been sober for a long time before I got on Suboxone. I got on Suboxone as a protection to help me because I needed more than just 12 steps. I needed more than prayer and meditation. I needed more than just therapy. I needed more, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We have to stop treating people like the plague because they need more. So, anyway, let's get back on track with my topic for today, which is how far would you go? So, how far would you go to protect your sobriety, y'all? Let me share something with you guys, okay? I mean, it was the hardest thing I ever did. So, there's been many times that I have ran into my friends that I used to get high with. Y'all want to hear about it? I'll tell y'all a story. So, back in 2016 or 17, I was at the store because at the time I was working for Hallmark, and I would travel from store to store to do their greeting cards and like arrange them and make them all nice and neat. Well, one day I was at a Walgreens over on Main Street, and lo and behold, it was the dope man. The dope man, the ice cream man, the ice cream man. And I was like, fuck, how the fuck, what, this is my luck. This is my luck that I'm going to run into this motherfucker. I knew it was going to happen one day. I knew it was going to happen. You know how you know it's going to happen? You know it's going to happen one day. And he saw me. He was walking this way. I was walking that way on the sidewalk, and his eyes were like, and he goes, Nicole. And I said, huh. I'm sober as a judge. I think I said, I'm sober as a motherfucking judge. And he gave me a big ass hug. I gave him a hug. And he was like, man, I'm fucking happy for you. You know what I'm saying? He didn't offer me no drugs or anything. But he was like, I'm happy for you. And I was like, my son, I think at the time my son was like 4. And I was like, my son's 4. He's doing so good. I have full custody of him back. I have a job. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I felt good. I was telling him all these things that I have accomplished. And he was like, man, good for you. Good for you. And that was it. And I left. And he left. You know what I'm saying? And it was so much less worrisome than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this situation where I ran into him and he was like, yeah, you got to try this stuff. You got to try this stuff. You know what I mean? But he wasn't like that. And he respected me. And I appreciate that. Now, you know, do I think that he meant to respect me? No. I think that he was just probably like, you know, damn, she ain't getting high no more. I can't make money off her. You know what I mean? I don't think it was even that big of a deal to him. But to me, I was like, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Let me tell y'all another story. Y'all want to hear this story? So, about a year into my sobriety, I have a friend. Her name is Jennifer. We're still friends to this day. We used to be friends when we were in active addiction. And me and Jennifer, like, I could call her and she would get me pills. She'd call me. I could find her pills. We just always found each other drugs. Well, she came over to my house one day, and this was back whenever I had just really started taking my Suboxone as prescribed. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I was still holding on to some unhealthy behaviors. Let me share them with you. So back when I first got sober, I would take my Suboxone, and if I had like 1 or 2 left, I would call Jennifer and I would sell her the strips for $20 a pop. And so that was an extra $40 a month, man. I was like, fuck yeah, right? That's how I justified and rationalized that behavior in my mind. All this time, I know that I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it anyway. Well, she had came over and she needed a strip, so I was getting her a strip. And she had opened her wallet and she had some Xanax, blue Xanax footballs. And she had them on my counter right over here. And I was like, oh shit, you got some Xanaxes, you know? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, that feeling started coming over me, and I was like, hey, can I get a couple? And she's like, sure. And so she gave me like three footballs. And I took them and I put them in my wallet and zipped it up. And I was like, kind of like that feeling like, fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. I scored. Fuck yeah. Now, I've been sober for over a year. All right. I've been sober. And so I'm thinking in my mind, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. I'll take them tonight when everyone's asleep and nobody will ever know. I'll be able to sleep good. I'll feel good. I can stay up a little bit and then let them knock me out, right? Well, bad idea. My husband came home that evening and he was hungry. He wanted some money or something. So he was like, hey, do you have some money? I'm going to go down the store and get some chocolate candy bars or some shit like that, you know? And I was like, yeah, there's $20 in my wallet. So Neil goes over there, unzips my wallet, and goes to get the $20. And he finds the Xanaxes. And he comes in there and he goes, what the fuck, Nicole? And they're just sitting there all in their glory. And I was like, oh, I was gonna, you know, and he's like, what were you gonna do? And I was like, I was gonna do nothing. And so he took them and he dropped them in the toilet bowl. And I'm looking at them. They're just sitting down there in the bottom of the toilet bowl, you know, and I was like, and then we flushed them down, and that was that. But I almost lost my sobriety for 3 Xanax footballs, and my husband caught me. Thank God, right? Thank goodness. And so at that time, I didn't think, you know, at that time, I did think, thank goodness, because I was fighting the idea in my mind of giving up my year-long sobriety, because you guys, I've been completely honest and transparent about everything that I've done in my recovery. Every journey that I have taken, I have never lied about anything, and I'm not going to start today, and I wasn't going to start then either. So my husband intervened and saved me from relapsing, you know. Now let's get to his relapse. So my husband had been struggling with like relapses off and on. We got sober in 2015, and he was able to maintain total sobriety till 2018. In 2018, he kept having little incidents where he would leave his job and go smoke crack or go get cocaine or something like that. But then he would come home and would not have any drugs. He would not be under the influence. He would be fine. But I would know because I know my husband. You know what I'm saying? And so I would ask him, then I would look in our bank account, and then I would know. And so little things like that were happening, and I was catching him every time. Well, in 2020, it finally just all fell through the bottom, and he relapsed. And I'll tell you what happened. So a guy at his work, that he worked in the meat department, he was prescribed Xanax, Klonopin. He was prescribed Klonopin. And then another guy in the produce section was prescribed Klonopin. So apparently my husband, either they told him or he straight asked him, right? And so my husband's a drug addict, and so he knows these guys have pills. They're taking their pills while they're working, and so they're like looking all happy and feeling good. And so my husband started buying them off of them. And it just got worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where it was like it was undeniable what was happening. Like he was unable to work. That's how bad it was, to the point where he was incoherent at his job. And that's why he lost his job, because he was so fucked up that he was probably fucking shit up, and they caught him. They called him into the office and they were like, we need you to tell us who you're buying the pills from and all this bullshit. And of course my husband was like, no, I'm not going to tell on anybody. I did it. I'll take responsibility. And so, you know, if you have to let me go, I understand. And so instead of firing him, they had him resign. Because they didn't want to put it on they don't want to give him a bad, they don't want to give him a bad thing. He wants to be able to use them for a reference, and they didn't want to give him a bad reference. So they had him resign, and that's what he did. During that time, though, that he was relapsing, he was coming home. Never did he come home with drugs on him. Let me get that completely fucking clear. Okay? He never came home with drugs. He never did drugs in our home. He would always do it while he was at work. And so then he would drive home and I would catch his ass because I would know. I would know. And so I was putting my foot down and telling him, you know, you can't do this anymore. You're going to die. Something bad's going to happen. And I was freaking out. I was taking his car keys away from him. I was making him sleep on the couch. Like, it was just really overwhelming. And none of that was working. I made him go stay at his mom's house. That wasn't working. Nothing was working, right? I was offering him support. I found him a guy that would sponsor him, and they were talking on the phone. Like, I was doing all these things, right? Trying to help him to sober up. But every day he would go to work and those guys would be there that were high also. And he had to work at that job. And so it would just be like every day he walked in to a fucking active drug scene every day at his job. He's the manager of a huge grocery store here in Little Rock. And so I don't have to work with people that have drugs on them and see them high all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? And for someone in early sobriety who doesn't have any foundation, like my husband, he couldn't deal with it. He would get the drugs every time, or he would try to white knuckle it and do it, right? And then get them anyway. And so, finally, what happened was I stopped enabling him. I stopped calling in for him because I was calling in for him and saving him from losing his job. I was taking his keys away. I was taking his credit cards away, debit cards away, everything. And I stopped doing it. And I let him fuck his fucking shit up. I let him lose his job. I let him get in trouble. And because I kept intervening and keeping him from experiencing the consequences of his actions. And so since I have let him experience his consequences, which is losing his job, he's stayed sober now. But, and I say this to him, he knows every day how I feel. If you're not doing anything to stay sober, it doesn't matter if you've been able to stay sober for these 90 days. It doesn't matter if you stay sober for a week, a year, 2 months, 5 years. If you don't have any skills on how to stay sober, when a situation arises and you get stressed out, something bad happens, you will relapse, okay? Like, if you don't have the tools to cope, then you will get high. And so that's why I believe that my husband wants to have a better life. I believe that my husband wants to stay sober. I know he wants to stay sober because he tells me I want to be sober. I know that I need to be sober also. I know that getting high does not help me. I know that it ruins my life. I know that I'm hurting myself. I know that I'm hurting you. I know that I'm, causing chaos and drama and hurting everybody in the family. I know these things. And so that's why I want you guys to understand something. I know a lot of people will say, well, if they're not willing, they won't get it. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I believe that a lot of people want to get sober and are willing, okay? They're willing and they want to stay sober, but they're also sick. And if they don't have the proper tools to battle their disease, then they will fall back time and time and time again, okay? Now, do I think you need to be willing, right? Absolutely. I think that it helps if you're willing. But what I mean for you guys is, my husband, he doesn't want to hurt his family. He doesn't want to hurt me. He doesn't want to hurt his mom. He didn't want to lose his job. Do you know what I'm saying? Some people have, it's deeper than just, I didn't want to get sober or I wasn't willing to get sober. Some people have real mental illness, mental health problems. And my husband struggles with debilitating depression to the point where sometimes he can't even function and he just pushes through. I am the same way. And so that's why I take every day that he stays sober, and it's a fucking win in my book. And instead of looking at relapses as relapses, I look at them as episodes of use, and I hope and pray that they get farther and farther and farther away. So since Neil's last episode of use, this 22nd of this month will be 90 days. So we have not had an episode of use in almost 90 days, which is a great thing. But now we're at a crossroads where you can stay sober for 90 days, but where's the healing? Where is the inner work? And so that's what I'm trying to help him realize and understand. A lot of people, like my husband, they don't want to do the work on the inside because it hurts and it's hard. And for some reason, my husband has ran away from any kind of inner working for the longest time. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. He has never told me that he had any kind of problem going on, any kind of abuse, any kind of neglect, nothing like that, okay? I don't know what the problem is, but he is like the hardest person to have open up. Now, my opinion from being married to him or being with him for almost 10 years is that he was raised by his mother to be highly ashamed and told not to talk about his addiction. He has been told not to tell anybody for the last 40-something years that he's been alive. He's been told that not anybody needs to know. Those kind of things are personal. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say this. Every single time we talk about his addiction in our family setting with his family, his mom says it to me. Well, not everybody has to know. Well, you shouldn't tell. How can he heal if he's not opening up about it? He can't. Okay? My husband is an all or nothing junkie, just like me. Okay? And either everyone in his life needs to know what's going on, everybody in his job, I'm telling you guys, or he will find a way to slip through the cracks. Something will happen. And so when you're raised up to be ashamed, why are you going to talk about it? Why are you going to heal? And so it's some deep underlying fucking shit that has been instilled in his brain since he was a kid, y'all. And it honestly, it drives me insane because my job is sharing my story. What I do for a living is help other people by sharing my truth, my experience, what I've gone through in active addiction, how I've gotten sober. And so I'm an open book. Now, do I want my husband, does he need to get online with me and do videos? I would love for him to come sit beside me and we could do videos and he could share from the guy's point of view. I would love that. But he doesn't have to do that. And I would never make him or expect him to do that, like if he didn't want to, right? But he needs to be able to talk about it to someone. It can't just be inside of him, and that's the problem. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Sorry, I was not trying to ignore y'all's things. I was just talking, and I get really, sometimes I will get off track if I read the comments. So I will be celebrating 1 year of sobriety. Should I go down to 1 or just kick it all together? Hey, I'm on 2 milligrams of subs a day, but 3 hours before my dose. Every day, I'm dying sick. There's got to be something else going on with you if you're sick. You shouldn't be sick 3 hours before your dose, okay? There's got to be something else going on. You need to go to your doctor and see if they can run some tests on you because something else is happening. If you're on 2 milligrams, you have a long way to go still. A lot of people think 2 milligrams is like not enough, not a lot of buprenorphine, and where it's like a lower dose, it's still quite a bit of buprenorphine, you guys. Go ahead, J-Ship. What's going on, girl? You need to get down to under 0.25. So you need to go to 1 milligram, half a milligram, then half of a milligram, and then half of a milligram. Okay? So you got to taper a lot still. I mean, I know because I'm doing the same thing. And you just got to take your time with tapering, you guys. Like, a lot of people want to rush the process of tapering, and it's not something that you can just do overnight. It's not something that's going to happen in 30 days, okay? If you're someone who has been on medically assisted treatment for over a year and you want to get off of it and you're ready to get off of it, and I say, are you ready? Because I have got some pretty strong ass sobriety, okay? I'm pretty strong in my recovery. And so when I hear people saying that they're trying to come off Suboxone, I really want to look at them kind of like this, because I'm like, are you though? Are you though? Because I know how much work I have put in, and I have obsessively worked through major traumas. Okay, I have been kicking ass and taking names for the last 5.5 years. Hardcore work. And so I want to know, like, what all have you done? Because if you're just like been on Suboxone and you haven't been doing any work and you go to get off of it, you're going to have a really hard time. Just ban them. Oh, wow. I know what you're talking about, J-Ship. They just banned them. I have Suboxone gabapentin. Do you guys have Bunavail? Yeah, we do. It's called Sublocade here. J-Ship, first of all, does that tiapatine, when you take a drug test, does it show up in your bloodstream or in your pee as an opiate, or does it not show up at all? Honestly, what I would do if I were you is I would go onto Google. I'll pull it up right now, so that way I can show you guys. This is what you guys do, okay? This is not medical advice, but it will help you guys, okay? So for those of you guys that don't know, I work for I work for Dr. B, and a lot of times whenever I'm working for him, tonight I have to help a girl. She's inducting onto Suboxone. So this is not my first rodeo. It's not something that I take lightly, and I don't just tell people how to do it. Like, I'm just going to show you guys, if you were coming in to see the doctor and you were coming off of the drug that you just said you're coming off of, Tia, what you would do to get onto Suboxone. Okay? Okay, so hold on just a second. I'm pulling it up. Okay, so get your pen and paper out, people. Okay, this is the clinical opiate withdrawal scale, okay? So if you were going to see the doctor and you were going to be inducted onto Suboxone, this is the information that they would take from you, okay? What you do is you go on this thing, patient's name, okay, it says enter scores at time. So here we go. So before you get onto Suboxone, you are going to check your pulse, resting pulse, and then you are 0. If you have a pulse rate of 80 or below, you'll score a 0. If you have a pulse rate of 81 to 100, you'll score a 1, okay? And so on and so forth. And you'll put your score right here, all right? Then you'll go down to the next thing, sweating. How bad are you sweating? And then you'll score, no report of chills, subjective report of chills and flushing, flusher, observable moistness on face, beads of sweat on brow, yada, yada, yada. And you'll go through and you will rate, okay, each one of your withdrawal symptoms from a scale from 1 to 5 or 1 to 4. Okay, you'll go all the way down here. Okay, it's going to ask you about yawning, tremors, anxiety, everything. Then you are going to total up the total amount of your score. Okay, what did you score? Then you'll go down here to this scale and you'll see the score says 5 to 12 is mild withdrawal, 13 to 24 is moderate withdrawal, 25 to 36 is moderately severe, and more than 36 is severe. Now, if you want to be able to take Suboxone, you need to be in this moderate right here, okay? It would be awesome if you were down here at moderately severe, but if you score over a 13, then you should be able to dose your Suboxone. Now, you have got to be honest when you're doing that, you guys, and like literally make sure, because if you cheat the fucking score, then you can take your Suboxone too early and throw yourself into precipitated withdrawal. Okay? So add your score up, see how much you score, and if you don't score high enough, Then in another hour, come back 30 minutes to an hour and take the scores again and score yourself again, okay? Until you score high enough to dose your Suboxone. When you dose your Suboxone, you take your medication, you place it underneath your tongue, you lower your tongue and shut your mouth. Don't drink anything before, don't drink anything after. Allow your Suboxone to completely dissolve. The way you'll know that it completely dissolved is you'll lift your tongue up and there'll be nothing left there, okay? After there's nothing left there, you can either swallow that spit or you can spit it. It's totally up to you. What happens if you swallow it, and this is just my personal experience and a lot of other people's, is it can cause nausea, it can cause constipation and headaches. So do with that information what you will. That is how you know when you can dose your Suboxone, and that is what they would do if you went to the doctor. So I hope that helps. If anybody needs this, hey Badass Recovery, what's up, girl? So if any of you guys need this opiate withdrawal scale, you can literally just go on Google and print it out. I have it right here on my screen, and like I said, it's a good thing to use if you're trying to come off opiates. That way you don't go through that precipitated withdrawal. Yeah, you can. So it is, I literally just, it's called index dot, I don't know. Let me see. Hold on. I just went off of it, so hold on. I'm sorry, you guys. It should pull it up. Like, just type in clinical opiate withdrawal scale. I promise you it'll pull it up. So, I hope that helps you guys. I hope it helps you guys. I had a girl today who was 17 reach out to me, you guys. Any withdrawals coming off Sublocade? Hey, Heather, that's a great question. So, Heather, as far as I know, I've had several friends taper, but I can't get off Klonopin. It's too much. Carrie, if you are struggling with tapering off your Klonopin, maybe you're going too fast, okay? Maybe you need to pause your taper. A lot of times, you guys, we get so excited or we're anxious and we want to get off these medications and we're like determined and we think that faster is better, right? But in this situation with these medications, it's not. Patience is your best friend when you're tapering off of medication like Suboxone, methadone, or benzodiazepines. And I'm telling you guys, you'll thank me later. Just chill, relax, give yourself some wiggle room. If you're struggling and you found yourself at a point where you're like, dude, this is not fucking working out, pause. Who are you racing against? You don't have to beat anybody. Are we racing? Look beside you. There's nobody over there, is there? There's not a finish line. That's the thing. Stop looking at it like it's a finish line, okay? You're never going to be finished with your recovery. This is something that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. This is just a step in your recovery, okay? And so knock that idea that you're going to finish or fail or win or whatever, right? Knock that out of your mind and think of this as a process that you just have to go through it and trust the process and allow there to be time, okay? So anyway, if you have any questions about benzo tapers, you can ask me too. I'm not going to advise you on what your taper should look like, but I'll tell you guys this, okay? Before you start a taper, you should be at a dose where you're stabilized and you're not taking more or less every day. You're just stable on that dose. You need to have as less stress in your life as possible. You need to be able to, you need to be in a good place before you start tapering, okay? Oh, okay, Carrie. He doesn't want to give you Suboxone and Klonopin. Oh, and Heather, about the Sublocade withdrawal. So I have had several friends, hold on, I gotta get some water, who have told me that they have discontinued their shots. And it's been over a year since they had their shot. But they're still testing positive for buprenorphine. So what that tells me is that shit's still in their system. I think what happens, and correct me if I'm wrong if any of you guys are on Sublocade, think what happens after you discontinue the shot is that it just slowly leaves your system over time. And then eventually one day you wake up and it's not in your system anymore, right? But I think that you will experience some withdrawals. I just don't know how severe they'll be. I have a friend, she has a channel here on TikTok called, I think it's called Recovery Meg. She's called Recovery Meg, okay? And she has not been taking her Sublocade shot for over a year, but she's also still testing positive for the buprenorphine. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure. We need to know. Oh gosh. Yeah, it's really important to, if you have a doctor that's working with you, to follow their directions, you guys. But some people don't have doctors, you know, and that's just the truth of it. So when people come to me, I always let them know, like, I'm not a medical professional and this is not medical advice. And I just share with them my experience. Now, I had a young lady reach out to me, and she went to a doctor that apparently had no idea what they were doing. So I just sent her some information on the clinical opiate withdrawal scale, and her mom is helping her, so she'll be fine. But yeah, I always let people know that, you know, it's not medical advice. So do with the information that I'm telling you what you want to do with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of kids are reaching out to me that are under the age of 18, which is really, really scary. And I was talking to my husband about it, and I was telling him, you know, these are kids who need help, and they're young. And it breaks my heart, you guys, because I remember when I was that young. You know, I would never advise a young person under the age of 18 to do anything without their doctor's consent. And I also strongly advise this young lady to find a new medical provider because of the provider that she had. And this is the problem, you guys don't understand, some of y'all. Some of these providers don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the medication. They don't know the medication. They don't understand Suboxone. And so some of these providers, you realize that you just have to take one class to get certified to be able to prescribe Suboxone. And so some of these people just take the class, get it added to their thing because it's an extra 100 to 200 patients that they can see every month. Hey, Diana. And so when I have a young girl reaching out to me and telling me that her provider told her she could take Suboxone 12 hours from the last time she used fentanyl, that's fucking highly fucked up, because that's a lie from the pit of hell. 12 hours from the time you used fentanyl, that's like asking for that little girl to go through precipitated withdrawal and damn near die. And any person in their it's like, how can a doctor say that? Like, why would somebody advise her? And then the lady told her to take 8 milligrams, and if that doesn't work, then take 8 more milligrams, and all the way up to 3 8-milligram strips. And she's like 17, you know what I mean? Like, you cannot say a definitive time, because they have to score on that damn opiate withdrawal scale. If they're not scoring high enough, they can't take the medication, because it can literally make them, it is the worst feeling in the whole wide world. Yes, Diana, it happened to Diana. Diana and me went through her induction together. She waited over 30 hours, I don't know, we were at like the 35-hour mark or something, and she took her Suboxone, and it made her ill as fuck. And so that just goes to show you guys, that was with scoring over a 12 on the opiate withdrawal scale. And so this medication, buprenorphine, it's hard because fentanyl is what's in this fentanyl off the streets, you guys, is from China or some shit. Okay, I don't know how they're making it, but what's happening is it is sticking on the receptor a long time. Longer than regular fentanyl that they would give you at the hospital. And so if there's like little trace amounts left on your receptor when you take Suboxone, then it's rushing in there and knocking that fentanyl off, and that's what makes you so sick. how much Suboxone did you take the first time? When I first started taking Suboxone, I started with 4 milligrams. Okay, I started with 4 milligrams, then I went up to, and then I waited, and I waited like 30 minutes, and then I took another 4 milligrams. I was fine at 8 milligrams. The only reason why I went up to 12 milligrams was because I was struggling with overtaking my medication, which is another problem that a lot of addicts who get on this medication run into. Because if we don't change our habits and we don't change our thinking, then what can happen is we'll just go from eating pills and shit to eating Suboxones and shit. You know what I mean? And so I had to go through this process. No, she texted me today, actually. So I gave her my phone number and told her to call me and let me know that she was okay. So I'll check up on her tomorrow morning and let you guys all know how she's doing. But she has her mom. I told her, you know, make sure that you talk to your mom. And I'm really, like, y'all don't understand. Like, I'm not over here. This wasn't my first rodeo. And so I always let these kids know that reach out to me that they need to get with their parents or somebody that they trust, a loved one that they trust, a counselor, somebody, because I can't just be talking to these kids like that, because I want to make sure that their family knows what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because if my son was reaching out to somebody, although I'm helping them and I'm not like overstepping any weird boundaries or anything like that, it's just respect. And I have respect for people's privacy and their children, and I want to make sure that their kids are protected. You know what I mean? So I'm not a creep. But I honestly, I honestly don't know about that Tia stuff. Like, I've never taken it before. Do any of you guys have any experience with Tia? Let me read about it a little bit, because I've never taken it before, but I've heard so much about it from people calling and having an addiction to it. Okay, so actually, I'll tell y'all a little story. Last summer, you know, I answer the phones for Dr. B's treatment center. And last summer, a young lady reached out and she was addicted to Tia. And I was like, first of all, what is Tia? Okay. And she told me what it was and that she buys it from the tianeptine. Okay. I'm trying to find it. Tianeptine. Maybe that's it. That she takes it. She was getting it from the gas station or a head shop or something like that. But she had been taking it for over 2 years, and she was pregnant. And she was scared to death that it was going to hurt her baby. And so I told her, I said, listen, this is what we should do. Hey, Kendry, we're just talking, girl. We're talking about medication-assisted treatment, all that kind of stuff. And recovery, and just anything you want to say, just chime in. I got you. I told her, I said, you need to see a doctor right away, man. You need to call a doctor and you need to have them help you. Because what I would imagine that they would do. Really, Diana? That's awesome. I'm so glad. They have been hustling at the office today. We were so busy today, you guys. But we kicked ass and took names. If a person reaches out to me and they're pregnant and they're on heroin or they're on fentanyl or they're on Tia or they're on kratom, every single time they call me, if they're pregnant and they are on those substances, do you know what I say to them? Go to your doctor. Be honest. Let them know so they can transition you off of that onto MAT. So that way your baby is safe and doesn't go through any withdrawal or like chaos in the belly, because women are ashamed and embarrassed, especially women that are in active addiction. I was in active addiction during my pregnancy, and I was ashamed, and I was afraid that they would take my son away from me. And that's why I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my doctors, I didn't tell my nurses, I didn't tell anybody. And you know what I did? Instead of telling somebody, instead of getting help, I continued to use. And I put my unborn child in harm's way. I could have killed my son. I could have killed my son and myself. And so I don't want that to happen to another woman. So instead of being ashamed, instead of worrying about CPS, I say, fuck that bullshit. Like, you have to think outside of yourself and think about the life that you're carrying inside of you to protect that life. And I know it can be scary, man, to have to admit that you're using drugs while you're pregnant, but who gives a fuck what anybody else thinks? Who gives a motherfucking shit? And plus, let's say something does happen. Let's say you're fucking shooting heroin, you're pregnant, and you tell your doctor, and they do open up a Child Protective Services case. Okay, let's say that happens. You fucking work your ass off and you stay sober, and you're gonna be okay. Okay, I got sober, and my son got taken away from me because I was getting high, and guess what? I worked my ass off to get him back. And so you just have to be honest, because you need the help. And there's good doctors out there, like Dr. B. He's a great doctor. He'll help you if you're struggling and you're pregnant. You know what I'm saying? There's doctors out there who really do want to help you. And I don't even know what the law is in all states, but you know, it could be just an open and shut case, and then you go on with your life. But I wouldn't even worry about that, because it has to be, like I said, you have to worry about, in the long run, you're going to get sober, and that's all that matters. What's up, Kaden? What do you think is funny, honey? What are you laughing about? I don't think anything we're talking about is funny. I think we're talking about some really fucking serious shit. I'm in Arkansas. People don't need to be ashamed for struggling, okay? And it's people who shame people that are pieces of shit, dude. Because it's nothing to be ashamed of, ever. I want to find this, but I cannot find it, dude. Where is this? State bans over-the-counter sales of gas station dope. Oh my God, let me read this. Okay, girls and guys, here we go. You're in tech. That's awesome. Well, hell yeah, girl. Just so you know, you guys, we're having a July 4th meetup in Texas at Tara's and B Magic's house, Brian. And so if any of you guys are in Arkansas or Tennessee or Texas or Louisiana, and you are going to travel, you want to travel and come do the meetup with us, we're going to do it on July 4th at Tara and B Magic's house. I'm going. April from APTV is going. It's going to be fucking bomb, dude. I wish I could come too, girl. Why don't they? I would love to come talk there. Why don't you see if they'll let me do it on a Zoom? That would be so awesome. And listen to me. I promise you, if I come in there, there won't be a dry eye. And I'll keep everybody engaged in the conversation. I love talking and telling my story and helping people, y'all. Like, I love it. It is my passion. I get excited to talk about recovery and help people and share what I've gone through. It makes me want to keep doing it. And, you know, it's just amazing. I love it. Okay, so let's read about this gas station dope. Y'all ready? Tianeptine, referred to by the Morgan County judge who oversees the drug court as gas station dope, was banned statewide Monday from over-the-counter sales. Effective Monday. Oh no!